Hi, I'm C.C. Péan, and this is Reclaiming Your Health. Hello and welcome to Reclaiming Your Health. I am C.C. Péan, your resident chef. I am so excited to be here with you today, especially because we are going to be revamping a Seventh-day Adventist potluck classic. Now, I know you're seeing a few things in the camera. Any guesses about what we're preparing today? There's the overhead shot. Isn't this neat, you guys? We have this new camera. You can see what I have here. I have some fresh pico de gallo that I made. I've got some corn salsa here. I've got some cabbage, some red cabbage, which may throw you all off a little bit. I've got some guacamole over here to the side. I have some plant-based homemade sour cream, which I will share with you how to prepare. I have some homemade cashew cheese, some olives, some scallions, some cilantro, and a choice of 3 different types of chips. And in this bowl, we've got some beans that we're going to prepare. If you can't guess what this is, you need to give me back your SDA card. We are remaking Haystacks. This is the quintessential Sabbath afternoon lunch, even Friday evening with my husband's family. Whenever we're in Huntsville, we always have Haystacks. And, depending on who is lucky that night, they will be chosen to prepare the beans, and we'll just bring all the different things. Well, haystacks are something that is so closely associated with the denomination that even Dan Buettner of Blue Zones features haystacks. I mean, it's a really big deal because it is a really healthy way to have all these different kind of eat the rainbow type of ingredients in it. However, I like to do something different with mine because I think that there is a way to make it even healthier. First of all, we're not going to be using dairy sour cream, nor are we going to be using dairy cheese. We're going to be using a delicious, simple cashew sour cream, a delicious cashew cheese, instead of romaine, which romaine is great because it gives you water, but it really doesn't give you any nutrition. So instead of romaine, what we're going to do is we're going to use some finely shredded cabbage. Delicious, crunchy, crispy, more nutrition, and it's going to make a beautiful plate. We talk about eating the rainbow. Just look at all these colors. Now let me give you all a clue. When you are making your guacamole, I know a lot of people want to know, how do I fix my guacamole ahead of time and not let it get brown? What you must do is you've got to keep it from air. So I take a plastic wrap and I put it directly on top of my guacamole. Like I literally press it down. I'm going to show you in this camera so you can see that the plastic wrap is pushed all around the edges of the guacamole. That keeps air from getting into it because air is what oxidizes it and makes it dark. So if you want to make your guacamole ahead of time, this is the way to do it. The secret is not putting a seed in there because I've seen that. The secret is not squeezing lemon juice. I don't like to do that because it messes with my flavor. Nor is it, what's the other thing I've seen? Putting oil on top of it. Nope, none of those things, which is going to add more fat and calories. What you want to do is you want to take a plastic wrap, put it right on top of your guacamole, like push it down. And then after that, I still wrap it with some saran wrap or plastic wrap, but that's the key. Key also to this dish, as I was preparing to do this, I was reading all these different ways that people make haystacks. I don't even know when I learned how to do it. It's just something that I kind of like by osmosis learned how to do. but I think so key to the experience. If you're gonna fix haystacks, go hard in the paint. Go hard in the paint. There is a way to fix haystacks so they are so delicious. And one of the keys to that are my beans. If I do black beans or even if I do pinto beans, I always make sure that I zhuzh them up a bit. So what's gonna go into my beans? Some bell pepper, onion. We have garlic and bay leaf on this plate here. I have some cumin and some coriander spice. I have a little bit of coconut milk that's gonna make it nice and creamy. Now, if you don't wanna use the coconut milk, that's fine. What you could do is just kind of like just use everything else, and right before you serve it, you can kind of mush those beans down a little bit to make it kind of, give it some creaminess to it. My husband is Haitian, and if you're Haitian, you know about sauce pois. And sauce pois is basically a bean sauce. So he prefers his haystack beans to be similar to sauce pois. So that's part of the reason why I use coconut milk, but also it's really, really yummy. Good stuff. So I've got my hot plate going here, so I'm gonna move quickly. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut some of this onion, not all of it. Part of why I use onions and garlic and bell peppers is because it gives layers of flavor. I have literally, and if you're one of these people, I apologize for embarrassing you, but I have seen people literally open up a can of beans and just put it on the counter to go with haystacks. You can't do that. That's almost a biblical abomination. You can't do that. So I'm gonna cut up some of my onions because we want all that flavor in there. Remember, I've talked to you all about the fact that if you put enough flavor throughout with your spices and your garlic and your onions and your things like that, you will not need a lot of salt. So the bay leaf is going to play a role in this. I don't have any thyme, but if I had thyme, T-H-Y-M-E, obviously I have time because I'm here. I don't have any of the herb thyme. That is a great addition as well. So we've chopped up our onions. I've got some avocado oil in here. I'm going to put that in the pan. We'll put our onions in there. And let those brown for a little bit. I'm going to work on my bell pepper. This is a super fast recipe. I tend to like sweet bell peppers. I use red, I use yellow, I use orange. I do not use green. I think I have shared with you all in the past that green bell peppers are actually young bell peppers. If they're around long enough, they'll turn to either orange, yellow, or red. And so there's a little bit of bitterness to them, and I've never liked green bell peppers. I know they're typically cheaper, so I think people buy them for that reason as well, but I don't care for them. So I'm adding these bell peppers now to the pan. I'm going to use my garlic press, and I'm going to add 3 cloves of garlic because I feel like you can never have enough garlic. Squeeze that right in there. And we're just going to saute that a little more. You don't ever want your garlic to burn because I'm sure you know this. If you burn garlic, it leaves a terrible flavor throughout your dish. So we're going to keep moving this around. You get a little bit of, caramelization on your onions, that's not bad, but never your garlic. So I typically add my garlic last when I'm sauteing. Okay. So in this pan, we've got about a tablespoon of avocado oil. We've put like maybe a quarter of an onion. You could always use more. And 3 cloves of garlic. And probably about a quarter cup of bell pepper. To that, I'm going to add about 3 cups of black beans. You can either do these fresh or you can do them canned. If you buy them canned, remember to look for the words non-BPA liner. You want to make sure that the beans that you are buying are packaged in such a way that you're not going to get any bad elements in it, like the leaching of plastics and things like that, metals. So you need to make sure it's a non-BPA liner. So we've got this combined very nicely. I'm going to drop in my bay leaves. Bay leaves like this have this beautiful way of almost adding a sweetness, a roundness of flavor to your dish. And to that, my coriander and my cumin are going to go in here. I love showing you all how quickly these things come together. And last but not least, we're going to put some of my coconut milk in there. This came straight out the can, so it's it's not liquid, but once that heat hits it, it's going to be fine. There are also other types of vegan cream, like vegan half and half, if you're not a coconut person. I love coconut. I tell people that if I ever opened up a restaurant, it probably would be called Coconut and Cashews, because I love those. All right, so these beans are cooking. And really what you're doing is you just want everything to become incorporated because the beans have already been cooked. We're just warming them up. We have sauteed our onions, our bell peppers, and our garlic. We've got our bay leaf in here. And our leche de coco, coconut milk. And we're just gonna let that cook. And so let me tell you, while that cooks for a little bit, let me share with you exactly how I prepared these other items. I'm gonna add just as my mother would say, just a titch more of liquid to this. So let's talk about sour cream. There are different ways to make plant-based sour cream. One way is to make it using soft tofu. You could totally do that. You take some soft tofu, you drop it in your Vitamix or in your bullet. So if you're doing, you just do a full block. You drop it into your Vitamix. You'll use 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. You want a good squeeze of lemon juice, a pinch of salt, and about a cup to a cup and a half of water. And you just let that blend. Something you can also add is a little bit of Dijon mustard. That gives it kind of that tangy, sour cream type of taste. So that's one way to make it. The way that I made it was I used cashews. So if you have a nut issue, obviously you can't use cashews, but if you don't, this is super easy as well. I boil some water and I pour that over my cashews. That's my fast way of doing it. A lot of times they will tell you to let it soak overnight. I don't have time for that. So I have my fast boiler, like for your water, or I'll just take a pot of water, bring it to a boil. I'll put my cashews in a dish and I will cover it with that hot water and leave it. Okay, what that does is it takes off this exterior shell from the cashews and it makes it blend really, really, really smooth, like silk. So I do that after I have allowed it to soak for a couple of hours. I pour off the water, put it into my blender or my Vitamix. I added a little bit of apple cider vinegar, about a teaspoon, a squeeze of lemon juice, about a teaspoon of mustard, and a pinch of salt, some water, and I just ran it. And this is our plant-based sour cream. So that's that. The other thing that we have in here is cashew cheese. I love cashew cheese. So cashew cheese is basically the same recipe with a couple of additions. One of the additions is pimento, which is basically a bell pepper. So I buy them ready to go. If you don't want to do that, you can simply stovetop char your bell pepper and put it in a container, cover it with plastic wrap. Pull this. This is a lot. Just buy the pimentos already done. You can do the other way, but the pimentos are it's faster and it's easier. But you can. Let me just give you the recipe since I started. You can char it on the stove. Literally, you're going to put the bell pepper directly on the fire. After you've charred all sides, you put it in a bowl, cover it with a plastic wrap, wait about 10-15 minutes, and the skin will come right off. You cut that bell pepper, don't take the seeds. You're going to drop that in with cashews that have been soaked in boiling water, a little bit of nutritional yeast, which is great because nutritional yeast provides vitamin B12, which is typically found in meat. Okay, so that's one way vegans get their vitamin B12 in. And we do a little bit of lemon juice. I use a clove of garlic in there, a little bit of water to get it going, and that's it. Some people add oil to their cashew cheese recipe. I don't see a need for that. It just adds fat and calories, and you don't need it. What you need is a really good blender or a NutriBullet. So when all of those things are in there, the cashews that have been soaked, a clove of garlic, nutritional yeast, the pimento, the bell pepper, what else? And some water. Blend it, blend it, blend it. And here's your creamy, delicious cashew cheese. That's the other component that we're going to build with. We've got some olives here. You know, I'm not big on olives, but there are people that have to have olives for their haystacks. I've also got some scallions that I've chopped up finely here. Those scallions. We've got some cilantro, micro cilantro here. And so let's talk about this pico de gallo. Pico de gallo is so easy to make. I just chopped up some tomatoes, some really nice ripe Roma tomatoes. I did take out the seeds. And you see, even though I took out the seeds, look at how much water this has sprung. It's a lot of water here. So you want to take the seeds out because that contributes to the water as well. So these are chopped tomatoes, some chopped scallions, some diced jalapeno, a little bit of cilantro is in here, a squeeze of lime juice and salt. Then we've got some corn salsa. So we're adding another element of bright, delicious summertime crunchiness. So here we have corn, a little bit of jalapeno again, red onion, and cilantro, a little bit of tomato. Okay, that's that. We have our finely shredded cabbage. I used my mandolin. You want it finely shredded. You don't want big chunks. So this is like the perfect slice. And then last but not least, our guacamole. This guacamole is simple. It's your traditional guacamole recipe. Avocado, tomato, cilantro. I always add a little bit of cumin to this, a little bit of salt, and that's it. Oh, and lime juice. Here we have our chips. Chips are the foundation, literally and figuratively, of haystacks. Now, I have heard that people use Fritos for their haystacks. I've never been a Frito fan. If you're a Frito fan, go for it. But I love these real, simple, organic chips. If you want to stay away from corn, you can also try Siete Foods. Siete Foods has these great grain-free tortilla chips. Some are made from cassava. They're really, really good. They're really, really light. So that's another option. So our beans are done. Let's take a look at them. Our beans are done. Nice and creamy. And what we're going to do now is we're going to build a haystack. I'm using a bowl. Why? Because I'm greedy. And I love the fact with a bowl, you can just kind of like go up into the corners and take that chip and get that last little bit of goodness, right? So that's how we're gonna do this one this afternoon. And he's off camera, but let me tell you that we have none other than Stan Mackey in the house. He is here in Florida with me, and if you all notice things are looking new and improved and we've got these different angles, it's all because he's in town. So moving forward, we're gonna have a different vantage point as we do this show. So I'm gonna use these blue corn tortilla chips. And you know, when you build a haystack, sometimes it doesn't seem like you've used much, but they get big really, really quick. So I'm gonna put a handful of chips in here. Okay. And the first thing we're gonna put on is the beans. And it's funny, when my husband builds his, if you can see me doing this, he likes to scatter the beans evenly over his chips so that he gets a little bit of heaven in every bite. So the first thing we put down are black beans on top of our chips. Then I'm gonna go for my cabbage. I'm gonna just put the cabbage over it. You can also, you know, there's so many different ways you can do this. I've seen people actually use like finely shredded kale on theirs. You're basically doing like a salad on top of chips, you know? Okay, that's next. Then we're gonna do some of our corn. How beautiful this looks. Got our corn there. Now we're gonna use some of our pico. I really should use a slotted spoon because this is sprung. So much liquid. This is looking lovely. We're gonna use some of our guacamole. Look at that. See, I took the plastic off and it looks like I just made it. Put some guac in the center. Cover it back up. Same plastic. And now we're going to get to our sour cream and our cashew cheese. So we're gonna do our cashew cheese. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so good. I hope you're hungry, Stan. Being shy over there. I'm like, you came all the way from California and you're not gonna get on camera? What is that about? Now we're gonna use a little bit of our sour cream. Gotta make it pretty, people. Okay. My husband came in on the red eye last night, so he's still asleep. But I'm sure he smells these beans. Alrighty. Oops. Put a few of these olives on top of this. I don't know what's going on with that spoon. That spoon has been all over the place today. Let's just use my, we're gonna put some scallions on top of this. This is, I think this is like one of the prettiest haystacks I've ever seen. And last but not least, one of my favorites, cilantro, which I love to add because of its flavor and its beauty, but also because it is great for getting metals out of your body. Ladies and gentlemen, look at this haystack. Let me put it under. See that? Is that a beautiful haystack or what? Lovely. This is the quintessential Seventh-day Adventist potluck dish taken to a whole nother level because we don't have any animal products whatsoever. No sour cream, no cheese. We have cashew cheese and cashew sour cream. We've got these delicious, like Caribbean flavored black beans at the base with our blue tortilla chips. We've got cabbage in there, which is giving us roughage and fiber in addition to nutrition. And we've got corn, we've got this fresh pico de gallo, we've got this guacamole. This is a delicious dish that is incredibly good for you, and it's really not difficult to make. So the next time you say, I'm doing haystacks for Sabbath, and people have these haystacks, they're going to say, wow, these are next level. So that is it for this evening. Thank you for joining me on Reclaiming Your Health. These nachos, I'm sure, are going to get destroyed by Stan in the next 5 minutes. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.